So unlike a lot of the mobile tech guys here on YouTube, I do try and test out and review the full range of smartphones that hit the UK, from your fancy pants smartphone stuff all the way down to your more wallet-friendly budget offerings. Unfortunately, that does mean that I don't always have time to do a full in-depth review of everything that I try out. I've already cut out sleep, eating, and spending quality time with my family from my daily schedule. All that's really left now is irresponsible boozing, and it'll be a cold day in hell before I chop that one out. One such unfortunate casualty of the trickling sands of time was the Motorola Moto G7 Power. I used this as my full-time handset for a good few days before MWC slaps me in the face like a rancid herring. And this folly has really been bugging me ever since, because the Moto G7 Power is one of the best sub £200 smartphones you can bag right now in 2019. So I'm going to try and make amends by giving you a quick, dirty, filthy Moto G7 Power review, no frills, just exactly what I think. And if budget smartphones really get those juices flowing, then stay tuned for my in-depth review and roundup of the best sub £200 smartphones you can buy in the UK in 2019, coming on Monday. So let's start with the design, and the Moto G7 Power actually rocks a very similar look and feel to the Moto G7 and G7 Plus, the more expensive members of that G7 family. Instead of a Gorilla Glass finish, however, you get a polymer glass finish, but it still seems very durable, very hardy. It's been banged around. It actually went with me to MWC, took the trip in my bag, and as you can see, no scratches, no scuffs or anything like that. You do actually get a transparent cover bundled in the box as well if you're super paranoid, but honestly, it doesn't even seem like you need it. You can pick up the Moto G7 Power in 3 different colours: black, blue, or iced violet, whatever that means. This is obviously the black model, and it's boring as all hell, so I definitely recommend going for one of the others if you want something a bit more exciting. And yes, you do get a fingerprint sensor cunningly concealed within that Motorola logo, and it's just as responsive and accurate as the G7 and G7 Plus. Just a quick tap, and boom, you're straight into your desktops. Nice. Now that 6.2-inch device isn't as crisp as the Moto G7 or the G7 Plus, as it's just an HD Plus panel instead of a full HD Plus. Will you really give a shit if you're just watching a bit of YouTube or Netflix on the go? Not really, to be fair. It's still perfectly crisp and detailed for enjoying a video on the go. That 6.2-inch display is nice and spacious. Of course, you do get a bit of notch action up top, but that's generally blacked out when you're watching a video playing around with apps. And you definitely can't see it when you're watching something as dark as Umbrella Academy, which is great for the purposes of this review. There you go. As you can see, no notch poking into the view there, just a nice, full, crisp, colourful image. And for the record, I've got no idea what this show is, no idea whatsoever. As for the audio, there is no bottom-mounted speaker, so all of your media is pumped out of that top earpiece speaker instead. It's actually pretty powerful on top volume, and the quality is absolutely fine for watching video.
Wait a second. You're somebody else. Oh, bad funny.
But obviously it is quite tinny if you want to listen to a bit of music or something like that, so I definitely recommend connecting earphones. There is a 3.5mm headphone jack, which is still great to see in this modern day and age. There's no Bluetooth 5 support, there is only Bluetooth 4.2 support, but it certainly does the job fine when you're wirelessly connected to speakers or headphones. And good news if you don't have a great data allowance as well, you want to download a lot of movies and songs and stuff like that to take on the road, because you get 64 gigs of storage in the G7 Power, and that can be backed up with micro SD memory cards of up to 512 gigs as well, so you're basically sorted. And when it comes to the software experience, the G7 Power is again very similar to the G7 and the G7 Plus. You get a nice bit of stock Android Pie on there, all the usual settings and gumph that you would expect from that. And Motorola has of course included its own Moto app to add some bonus features to that set as well. You don't get the Moto Voice feature, unfortunately, which you do get in the G7, G7 Plus. It's basically just the voice assistant, but you do get full Google Assistant support. You just got to hold your finger on that home button as usual, and you can use your voice.
Chris. I'm your assistant, here to help you throughout your...
Yeah, you can help by buggering off, thank you very much. But you get all the usual Moto shenanigans on there, including all the gesture support and everything, the support for the excellent one-handed mode, which takes a little bit of getting used to, but once you get there, it works very, very nicely, especially as it's not the most compact of handsets. So if you want to reach up to that notifications bar with just the one bit, that's definitely an essential. And you know what, I have no problems at all when it comes to the performance either. It's a basic Snapdragon 632 chipset, but it's backed by 4 gigs of RAM, so it means that everything just runs nice and nipply. Your apps basically load up as soon as you give them a nice little tap. Definitely great stuff. You can even do a nice bit of PubG mobile gaming on this bad boy as well. You'll have to dial down the settings to minimum, obviously, but it's fairly smooth. It's definitely more than playable. But absolutely the killer feature here, and the reason that it's called the Moto G7 Power, is that flippin' enormous 5000 milliamp battery. Combined with that energy efficient stock Android, this thing will not die. It is the Michael frickin' Myers of smartphones. No matter what I was doing on this thing, I could easily get a full 3 days of use out of it, messaging, testing out the camera, all that kind of shit. shenanigans, no problem whatsoever. Even if you're doing a bit of gaming on it or streaming video non-stop, you'll still only see the battery level trickle down about 4 to 5% an hour, which basically means you get a full 24-hour gaming and a movie watching session on this thing. It's freaking nuts! 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 And when the phone is finally spent, you can power it back up again in pretty nippy time thanks to Motorola's Turbo Power feature. Hero of the quick charge, Turbo Power! And yes, thank God it is a proper Type-C USB port down below as well, none of this micro USB bollocks. Now, one of the few areas where Motorola has clearly had to make cuts to get the Moto G7 Power down to that sub £200 asking price is the camera tech. You no longer get a dual lens snapper like you do on the G7 and the G7 Plus. It's a single lens 12 megapixel camera with an f2.0 aperture, no depth sensor. All the same, this proves absolutely fine for your everyday photos. You get some pleasingly crisp detail as long as you don't attempt any kind of crazy macro shots or anything like that. The colours appear perfectly natural and those more vibrant tones really do shine through, especially considering this is a budget handset. HDR can be a bit of an issue, however. You do get some blowouts in those lighter areas, and at night things do obviously start to get a little bit grainy. Any lights often appear blown out, so those city shots definitely aren't too attractive. That is pretty standard for a budget handset though, so it's not really too much of an issue. And impressively, you used to get plenty of Motorola's bonus features packed on there, including a bit of spot colour action as well. Definitely still fun and works rather well. As for the video side, again, the Moto G7 Power is absolutely fine for your simple home movies or for just snapping some clips to share online. You can even shoot video at 4K resolution, which is pretty rare at this sort of price point. The focus does occasionally struggle, especially in lower light conditions. It'll often pop as it tries to latch onto your subject. And definitely don't try moving around at the same time as you're shooting either. Whether you're at full HD or 4K level, that stabilisation basically sucks. So basically, a few minor grumbles aside, the Moto G7 Power is impressive value for money, especially if you really want something that will keep you going all day long, even if you're absolutely punishing the thing. So that's my quick and dirty Moto G7 Power review. Sorry it's taken so long. As I say, if it wasn't for bloody MWC, I would have had it done ages ago. So what do you think of this quick and dirty format? That's first and foremost. Is it something that you can get on board with if I don't have the full time to dedicate to an in-depth lovely review? And also let us know what you think down below of the G7 Power. And as I say, stay tuned. Monday, my roundup of the best budget smartphones costing under £200. Unsurprisingly, the Moto G7 Power does feature in there. Thanks for watching, everyone. Love you guys. Don't forget to poke, subscribe, and ding that notification bell for more on the latest greatest mobile tech. And have yourselves a bloody lovely week. Bye, chaps. Sorry, I don't know what the hell that accent was. Kind of like a deranged Australian or something.